Hello and welcome to Theology on Tap. So I just got back from watching Fences, Denzel Washington's new movie. The movie is based on a play that was written, I believe, in the 80s. It is definitely about a person who was born into a family that had a lot of problems. Right? I think he said that he had 11 brothers and sisters. I could be wrong about that, but a lot of people in his family. You see a man telling a story about his childhood, how horrible it was, that one day he finds his father, I think, raping a child. And that is when this character runs away from the house after he pushes his father away and whatnot. And I know that one of the reviewers said that it would have been better if they did some kind of a flashback, right, to his youth, and we could see how horrible it was for him to be growing up in this family. But I liked it much better that they didn't do that. I liked it much better watching this character played by Denzel Washington. It was much better for me to watch him talk about his past, you see, because then I could see the pain that's in his mind, that memory that will never go away. There's always going to affect him. You see, it kind of made him who he is, because after he ran away or got away from his family, he was only 14 years old. He had to travel around looking for work, which he couldn't find any, so he becomes a thief. And eventually he gets caught and he gets to jail. And, he already fathered a child at this time. And when he gets out of jail, he meets Viola Davis' character. They get married, and he's trying his best to do what is right. He's trying to be the best husband and the father. But you see, the pains of the past and the guilt and the shame of the past, and living in a country or the city where, being an African American basically meant you're a second-class citizen. You didn't have the kind of opportunity. For he was a great baseball player, but he didn't get the chance to play in the majors and whatnot because of the color of his skin. So he's got a lot of anger because of that as well, a lot of frustration, obviously, knowing the fact that he was better than most, but he couldn't make it to the top level just because of the color of his skin. And that's got to be frustrating, because when we see this character, he talks quite a bit, and he's got a lot of complaints, right? Because life just isn't fair. And you could also see why he's the kind of a father that he is. That he seems to be very strict with his son. There's this conversation that he has with his son about, his son wants to know if his father likes him or not. And Denzel Washington's character thought that question itself was silly. What do you mean, do I like you? I don't have to like you. I'm your father. My job is not to like you. My job is to provide for you, And you could see that struggle in this character, as a father, as a man. What I got a lot from this movie is that it was a struggle of a African American male, a man, because as a man, we feel that responsibility. We want to do what is right. Maybe living up to my own expectations, or my family's expectation, my parents' expectations, or maybe even God's expectation of me. Living up to that is more of a goal, not fun. So a lot of times, many men feel like we have failed because we're always failing to live up to certain kind of standards. And you could really see that in this character. He knows that he has failed, so he's very rough on his kid because he doesn't want his son to fail either, you see. And because of the conflict that's up in his mind, that he cheats on his wife, and there's a scene where he's talking to his wife and kind of confronts and confesses to her that he's been cheating on her, and now his girlfriend or mistress is about to have a child. And at that moment, I thought, I was thinking maybe he would apologize and, change his ways. I don't know what he would have done differently, but I kind of like the fact that this character kind of stood up to his wife and said, hey, look, this is how it is. He was being really, really honest. I had this girl, she got pregnant, and she's going to have a child, and I'm going to be responsible for them. And I thought that was cool. It kind of threw me off because I didn't think that's what he was going to do, but that's what he did. So I'm really starting to understand this character. I really like this character because I know that he knows that what he has done was totally wrong. That if he could do it over again, maybe he won't do it again. However, what's done is done. What can he do about it now except to be a provider for everyone? You see, and I thought that was really nicely done. I respect him actually for that. And then we find out that his mistress actually dies while giving birth to his daughter. And there's a lot of pain because of that. There's that scene where he's confronting death, says, I'm going to build these fences around this house so they could protect his family from death. He wants to be there for his family. And I really thought that was a great scene. As I was watching it, I was thinking in my mind of the Bible verse where Paul says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Meaning the whole world might be against me, but I can go through with it because God is with me. Now, this character didn't really say that, but that's what I thought about because he was basically confronting death by saying, do better than this. I'm not going to let you get to me and my family like this again. And it was really good. Instead of really being down and just kind of moving out, he actually, got stronger, in my opinion, and says, I'm going to do my best. Then we see him bringing his daughter home, and he's asking his wife, who's not the mother of the child, and asks her to be a part of it and to raise. And I really thought it was cool that his wife, who stood by him for 18 years, and she does a great job confronting Denzel Washington's character in this movie too, and she takes on that responsibility. However, one scene that I didn't particularly like of this story is when the wife, the Viola Davis character, when she finds out that her husband's been cheating on her, she does a great job confronting him about how she was there for him for 18 years. That was the only time that I teared up a bit. And she stood by him. Don't be so selfish. Why are you so selfish and whatnot? And when she finds that out, she knows that her husband is not going to be really there for her all the time. And she actually starts going to church. You could see her being prayed by other people, other church members. And when she holds that baby for the first time, she says, look, I'm going to raise this child. However, you have lost your wife, or you have lost your woman. I wish that scene would have been different, personally. I wish she would have stood up even more and say, look, I'm with you for 18 years. You made a lot of mistakes. I stood by you. I see you treating our kid the way you do, and I disagree a lot of times, and I talk to you about it, and I stand by you. And you make this enormously huge mistake, and you bring this child, innocent child to us, and her mother is dead, and I suffered through, I stood by you, and I'm going to stand by you even more, I'm going to make sure that you stand up straight, because that's my duty as a wife, is to make sure you're cool. I wish that would have been the way it was in this movie. Instead of saying you have lost your woman. Because then a man who was already crushed in his life, really conflicted, a lot of guilt and shame and all that kind of emotions and thoughts that he has in his mind, now he lost his woman. The only thing that was keeping him up at this time says you now are alone. Even his friend later on seems to say goodbye to him as well. So this man is utterly destroyed, totally destroyed. And I just wish it wasn't like that. So sometimes I think like this, that I read one time, and I could be totally wrong, but I read it one time, that's close to 70% of the people that go to church, not once in a while, people who are more committed to church, 70% of the people that are committed to church are women, not men. And I could see that sometimes people find comfort in the church, not in the sense that they find comfort in God, but I think sometimes, this is my own opinion, by the way, I think sometimes a woman who is not really happy with their husband find Jesus as their husband, because Jesus is perfect. He's always there for them. And you got supporters at church who's praying for you and hugging you and saying everything's going to be all right. So instead of finding strength from the church to stand with her husband, whether he deserves it or not, that's not the point. That's what forgiveness is all about anyways, right? But instead of finding the strength to stand by her husband, she found the strength to say, you have lost your woman. So I got a little angry about that. I wish that would have made, I wish the church scene would have made her even stronger. Not in the sense of walking away from him, but in the sense of being a loving woman for her husband. I mean, that's what I wished for. And then even after that, he gets into a little spat with his son, has a physical confrontation, kicks his son out of the house. I mean, basically, he is all alone. He lost everything. So, cut to the next scene. 6 years has gone by, and he has died. And all the people, the family members and friends, come back to remember him. And I thought it was kind of a touching moment because at the end of it all, there was this understanding that a man did his best. He was not perfect, not nearly perfect, far away from perfect. But under the circumstances, the man did his best. And I thought that was really cool. And we could see that there is this generational kind of a curse, you see. When one father does evil or does bad, who raises a child to become a broken child, who becomes a broken adult, who makes mistake with their children, and how you could see how their children actually, do the same thing. Now, the Bible kind of does say that the curses will run throughout the generations, but the blessings runs through generations. Meaning that even though there are a lot of sins of our fathers, we could always turn that around. And that's the message of the Bible. And I think this movie has something like that in it, because at the end, the father is remembered, even though his son doesn't want to go to the funeral. There's this really touching scene about how the heaven gates open and he's in there, basically. The man goes to heaven because he did his best. And that's all we can ask for one another anyways, right? So I do recommend the movie. I don't know if my kids would have enjoyed it as much as I did, but my wife liked it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It really got me to think, and I learned a lot. So what do you think about this film? Did it have that kind of effect on you? Leave a comment below. Please subscribe to my channel, and share this video and my other videos about the Bible and other things. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.